This is Travis Wayne Goodsell, and it's the middle of the night because I went to bed early because there was no SNL last night. They aren't going to be on until, what, November 4th or whenever the November show will be on. I'm going back to the website with my LDS blog posts. These got a lot of attention, and apparently the way I'm wording the videos on my YouTube channel, I'm not getting as much attention unless they have a cool picture that everybody wants to see what's up with the picture. And so everybody wanted to see, well, 7 people so far wanted to see the video with the church chart of why people are leaving the gospel, but not any of the other pictures. So the apostasy, maybe I should put the title of the blog post in the YouTube thing. I'll try that, see if that makes a difference. But I have a cool picture of the Nicene Council of Nicaea for this one. And I better make sure, oh, I already got it last night. Okay. Alright, so on July 19th, 2018, I did a blog post on the apostasy. Alright, missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints talk about the apostasy to investigators, but Mormons don't hear about the apostasy in church or in seminary or institute unless BYU has a specific class on it. Now this is strange because the LDS Church exists specifically because of the apostasy. There needed to be a restoration. So you'd think that the church would have classes for Mormons on the apostasy, yet they don't. Remember, I've been a member for 48 years, and so I still am going through a transition of the proper pronoun usage. It's like in a marriage. Before you get married, it's all about, oh, I did this with her, and then after the marriage, you have to start saying, oh, we did this. So there's a pronoun transition that has to take place with people. So here is a summation of the apostasy for you. 1. Jesus and the 12 apostles were murdered. There is an indication that James, the brother of Jesus, succeeded Jesus' position as head of the church, not Peter, according to an account in the New Testament, and would make sense because there has never been a kingdom of God where succession was passed on to the head of the 12. It was always from father to son, or to a relative when there was no son. 2. There were over 100 Christian congregations upon Jesus' death, all led by bishops. The New Testament tells us there were instantly a division about the understanding of the doctrine of Jesus in all of these congregations. Thus the need for the lesser apostles to go to the congregations to correct them. 3. The Romans attacked Christians. The scriptures were destroyed and members were murdered. Christians murdered. 4. Christians found in the Egyptian records stories of Jesus and used them to reconstruct gospels and attributed them to certain men and also to the deceased 12. Each congregation selected the one gospel they believed in and made a creed to establish their justification of their choice of the one gospel. This resulted in contentions between the congregations and even within the congregations. 5. In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine held the Council of Nicaea. See the previous picture in the video. It was a gathering of all the bishops of the accepted Christian congregations. So yes, there were some Christian bishops who were excluded from this council. The purpose was to unify the divided Christianity. Constantine chose who God would become, and any and all congregations that did not agree were anathematized, excommunicated, from the newly established Catholic Holy Roman Church, and as such would not receive monetary support from the Roman Empire. See, follow the money and you'll learn a whole lot. And then I got a cool picture of God as a Trinity. Christians don't realize that when you put their supernatural, non-physical God into the physical realm to try to describe what he looks like, it just becomes absurd and ridiculous. But it really makes for a cool picture. 6. With this change in God also came changes in doctrines, rituals, theologies, and histories of the church. Apologists were the church scholars telling the people how to believe, and artists would join in with their art as to what the people should believe. Thus came Eve and the apple. Wasn't an apple. 7. Over time, different kings did not like what the church was doing and formed their own state church. There is a Western and Eastern Orthodoxy, and then churches like the Church of England, for example. And then you have among your Eastern Orthodoxies, you have your Greek Orthodox, your Russian Orthodox. So yeah, it just shattered. 8. Over some more time, then came the Protestant Revolution. Influential men recognized the errors in the Catholic Church, Luther, and protested and were imprisoned and tortured and murdered. Then others either formed new religions or new religious movements that became religions. The unified church was once again divided. Alright, so that's the summation. Eusebius's book is available online as a PDF download for free. I highly recommend it to everybody. Even though he was a propagandist for Constantine, he still points out several key things. Alright, it is important to remember that it was the new unified church who went back in their history to declare Bishop Linus of Rome as the successor of Peter. You have Constantine, who is the unifier. Thus they chose the Bishop of Rome to be the successor after the fact. And remember, the designation of Pope is not the president of the church or the position of Jesus, nor was the Pope a 12 apostle. The level of a pope's authority is that of a congregational bishop. Thus, all of Christianity does not have leadership authority to lead Jesus' church. I forgot the apostrophe in that. Which is why we call it the Great Apostasy. So knowing this, why would Mormons rage against me for declaring the LDS Church has no leadership authority? The Church has altered God, the doctrines, the rituals, the theologies, and the history of their own LDS Church, just like the early Church, as I explained. Hiram was Joseph's chosen successor if Joseph were to die early, not Brigham, who was the self-appointed leader of the traveling 12, not the standing 12. Section 102 verses 107. Brigham had no authority to take over the church, and church presidency is not by democratic vote. He was only one shattered splinter group of what is now over 80 different groups split from Joseph's original church. So how can members today claim Brigham was called of God, and for that matter, all of Brigham's successors, when he had no authority in the first place and then went on to alter the church, turning it into a different and destructive direction? With the murders of Joseph and his chosen successor, brother, in the case of an early death, his brother Hiram, the authority to lead the church also died that day. 27th of June, 1844. And the church fell into apostasy and is in need of a restoration. Those of us with priesthood received it through our fathers back to Joseph, and if you were righteous, you would be able to physically heal and receive revelation as I have. But Nelson, President Russell M. Nelson, condemned all of you for giving prayers instead of actual blessings, and then took away any hope of becoming the rank of high priest, which according to Doctrine and Covenants section 76 is necessary to enter the celestial kingdom, just like one had to be a high priest anciently in order to enter the Holy of Holies, not just the great high priest or church president, which is what Moses took away from the Israelites. The pattern is exactly the same. So why are Mormons in denial that they are in an apostate church which has no authority from God? You know what Brigham did: polygamy, creating a new god, racism, murder, theft of tithing, etc. You know that such is evil and disqualifies one from having authority if he had it in the first place. Doctrine and Covenants 121:37. So why? Why stick with the church exposed as the church of the devil? Because it is not the church of God. Being named the church of God does not magically and automatically make it the church of God. Having the Book of Mormon does not make your church God's church. Does not make your church God's church. For in the Book of Mormon, it lists what Lucifer's church does, and Brigham's list is an exact match. But those remaining in Catholicism will not leave Catholics, so likewise the remaining Mormons refuse to leave the LDS church. So just so you know, you're in the Church of Lucifer, own up to it rather than deceiving yourselves and others and putting a thumbs down on my video and trying to tell me that I'm some horrible name, an ad hominem, and all other types of abuses on the website. But Mormons don't do that. The only one that's attacked me recently was on my fear of immigrants video. Some guy was touting Trump's paranoid fear tactic and trying to say that the caravan that was coming up are filled with rapists and therefore we need to keep them out. He obviously is not watching the news, because they got maced, well, not maced, it was tear gassed at the Mexican border. Tear gassed. Kids tear gassed at the Mexican border, unarmed. They posed no threat. They were seeking refuge, and they got tear gassed. And so then I deleted his post and put a comment saying, hey, no, that's unacceptable to put in brainwashed hatred. And so he decided to call me a French word of a sign of hatred. And so I deleted that as well and put a comment about that. You know, come on, guys. You gotta understand. You can't just trust Trump. You've got to be at the scene. You know, you've got to catch them in the act if you're going to accuse them of something. And so Trump is not a witness. Trump has declared in his own book that he lies to people to get what he wants. He lies. He calls it hyperbole. So I don't understand how Trump supporters can support Trump knowing that he himself lies, other than they don't do their research on their own favorite person. They wear his MAGA hat, they chant his quotes, "Crooked Hillary, lock her up," and they don't think for themselves independently, saying, hey, wait a minute, he's actually trying to provoke me to abuse and harm, if not murder, other people who are victims and innocent of any wrongdoing. Alt-right conservatism is wrong. And I'm going off script here, as you can tell, but this is why we're in apostasy. This is why the church is in apostasy, because they exhibit the elements of alt-right conservatism. They've been so since Brigham Young, and it's wrong. And Mormons, you need to understand that. I got fed up with the Deseret News comments because Mormon after Mormon after Mormon were commenting about the horrible, evil, illegal immigrants trying to enter into our country to take our jobs, rape our women. Man. You know, you guys came up with what would Jesus do? Or maybe Christianity did, but you guys adopted it. Jesus would not do that. You know that. So what the hell is wrong with you people? You don't hate the poor. You give to the poor. You elevate them out of poverty. You don't tell them to get on their own feet and get a job. You know damn well McDonald's doesn't pay enough. What is wrong with you? The church doesn't give to the poor. You give tithing and you claim, oh, I'm donating to the church and the church takes care of it appropriately, so I don't need to do anything. Well, yeah, you shouldn't have to. The government's supposed to take care of our people, but they don't. They force charity organizations to take care of the people in their stead. The church claims to be a charity organization, and they give less than 1% of their profits to charity for welfare. I have that video also. So what is wrong with you? Mormons think that they were the great and noble ones in the pre-mortality, in the council of heaven, in the presence of God, that we of the church in these latter days were God's chosen foreordained specifically to come to earth at this time for the great war on earth. You know, God's royal army. What do you think army is for? It's not for pretty decorations and marches. It's for fighting. A war of words, as it was in the spirit world. But now in physical reality, you guys all know that wars of words end up in battles, physical fighting. Because all of a sudden we've got bodies and we can kill each other. Yay! What is wrong with you? So, yeah, I'm going off script, getting upset with Mormons for being dumb and hateful, ignorant like sheep. That's why you get picked on for being sheep. And yet you'd stand there all proud. Yeah, I'm a sheep of God. You're getting chomped on. I have the picture. Let's see. That picture right there. That's a wolf chomping on a sheep. And it's all cute and cuddly because the sheep has big eyes and smiling and happy. Real cute. He's getting blood drawn from the bite of the wolf, who's also cute and cuddly. That's how it works, people. When there are no shepherds protecting the flock get chomped on by infiltrators. And the infiltrators are the leaders of the church. They have no authority. We are in apostasy. And so I don't understand why you guys have shut me off. Why you want to be in denial. Why you want to continue to go to a church that you know is wrong. You don't need church to worship God during apostasy. The rituals don't count. That's right. The temple rituals don't count because they have no authority to bind on earth as in heaven. Remember apostasy? After Jesus and the apostles died, no authority, no binding on earth. That's what's going on. Wake up. Quit hating people. Quit segregating people. Quit trying to punish people. Utah, the government, they've made laws to prevent us from petitioning for a redress of grievances. Nurse Wubbles, you know the story. She was doing her job. The police officer was not doing his job. He thought he could bypass the system. He was an authority, so she challenged him. How dare she? He arrested her. It took 2 months before it made national news. And that was the pressure needed to get the Utah government to finally act. They had no intention of doing anything about the matter. They were going to let Nurse Wubbles suffer. It was external pressure that forced them to fire the cop. Because they weren't going to do it unless he was exposed, unless they were exposed for not handling it. This is a systemic problem in Utah. He's not the only police officer. This wasn't a rogue incident. You guys know the Constitution, don't you? You guys all talk about having the pocket Constitution carrying it with you. What does it say about needing a warrant for searches and seizures? So what the hell are cops doing on our streets pulling us over for minor traffic violations? Where is that in the Constitution? Oh, it's in the Utah Constitution, and they're fully legalized to do what they're doing. That violates the United States Constitution. It's wrong. Get them off the streets. But we need to be protected from all the bad people. You have a phone. Call 911. You don't call the fire department because you see somebody with a match. You call the fire department when you see a fire destroying a building. Yes, it's after the fact. There's no such thing as pre-crime. You can't do it. You can only call the cops after a crime has occurred. And I need to do a video about this because I'm going way off tangent here and taking up more time than I wanted to, because I was just going to talk about apostasy. But this is what apostasy does. It destroys the whole society, the government, the religion, social behavior. But it's the government abusing the economy, making it difficult for people to get ahead. It keeps us in slavery. That's why working at McDonald's is a crap job, because they don't pay enough for us to have a basic living. And not just for us alone, but for a family. Oh, well, that's just a high school kid job. Yeah. And how many elderly people are working at McDonald's? You ever checked last time you got to go? You know, elderly are working at Walmart as greeters. They're supposed to be retired. Why are they still working? Because somebody messed up the economy. And yet we blame the victims. We blame the elderly. Well, they didn't save their money properly. They didn't budget wisely. What's wrong with you? The homeless just need to get a job. What's wrong with you? That's why people commit crime. They need money. They can't get it with a regular job. And yes, the majority of people just try to get money by panhandling or robbing so that they can pay for drugs and alcohol. When that's your life, you have no hope of getting out of your situation. Yeah. Live free until you die. So they think. They want to die in a high. Because they have no hope. That's why they turn to drugs. That's why they turn to alcohol, to drown their sorrows. You know the country songs. Utah is big on country. You all know the jokes that when you play it backwards, you get all your possessions and wife back. One of the few jokes that I can recall by memory. So quit being expletives deleted. What's wrong with you people? The church is trying to keep people who have seizures from getting treatment so that they can live a normal life as possible by saying that marijuana, medical marijuana, is bad. And because you're Mormon, you're going to trust them because they're inspired of God. Jesus wants seizure people to die. That's what you're saying. You're saying that Jesus was okay by being racist against blacks. You're okay with Jesus saying that women should be suppressed, that they're only good for having babies. You're saying that Jesus is okay by neglecting the poor. So when you think that the church is being led by Jesus, that's what you're saying. You're saying that everything that your church does is not a crime, is not a sin, because Jesus said to, and he ordered it. That's what you're saying. What's wrong with you? We are in apostasy. Pull your head out of where it doesn't shine. Don't go to church today. Go on strike. The church doesn't like Mormons who go on strike. The church businesses don't want their employees to join a union. Unions are only necessary when the business is corrupt and the government won't help the employees. Thus, unions to level the playing field. And unions are bad also because they demand dues. Yeah, we'll give you protection as long as you pay your monthly bill. Yeah, it's a mob boss operation. But when you're in a corrupt society with a corrupt government, a corrupt economy, a corrupt religion, that's the only refuge that people have, is to use a corrupt system to battle a corrupt system. And it just feeds off of each other and destroys society. Mormons aren't going to be listening to this. I'm only going to get anti-Mormons listening to this. People who have left the church already. So, in other words, I'm preaching to the choir. I don't know.